Right, think back to the first time you ever loaded up The Division 1, walking the snowy streets of Brooklyn as a second wave agent, activated after the first wave either noped out or, shall we say, got a bit out of hand?
Well, it's been a while, but it looks like we have finally come full circle, walking the same streets and asking the question, why is everything on fire and why is it purple? Let's start with the basics. What is The Battle for Brooklyn? The Battle for Brooklyn is the newest DLC release for Tom Clancy's The Division 2, released on the 27th of May 2025. After receiving a distress call from Jessica Kendall, we learn the cleaners are running wild in Brooklyn, attempting to cleanse the area with their new weapon, the Purple Flame. It's up to us to take to the streets and assist the settlement in stopping this new threat. The Battle of Brooklyn DLC comes in at $14.99 and brings a new map of Brooklyn being made up of Dumbo and Brooklyn Heights. It has 4 world missions, 3 main missions, new open world activities, collectibles, a new skill, and everybody's favourite, new hunter puzzles.
Compared to Warlords of New York, it's clearly lacking in quantity, but I think that's reflected in the price, with it also being a little bit cheaper. Let's be honest, The Division 2 Battle for Brooklyn is absolute nostalgia bait, and I'm kind of here for it.
When you arrive, you crawl around some sewers before climbing a ladder, emerging to the view of the Brooklyn Bridge, standing in the exact same spot the first game starts. This is literally the street you run the intro tutorial in Division 1. This is swiftly followed by a trip to the police station, one of the first missions that took place in the Division 1 in Brooklyn. We've also got single shoulder backpacks, the Pecan exotic returning, and even though it's abandoned, you can even find the very first safe house we visit in the Division 1. With the Battle of Brooklyn, the devs also added more cosmetics to the open world for players to stumble across. And even this hit me in the feels with this little nostalgic noise that gave me the warm and fuzzies.
And that's enough walking down memory lane. Is the DLC actually any good? Should you pick it up? If you like The Division 2, if you've enjoyed your time with it so far, this is just more Division 2, but slightly improved upon.
The newest mechanic added with Battle of Brooklyn,
which will now be known as Bob from now on,
is the Purple Flame. This comes with its own delightful little status known as Corrosion. The Purple Flame combines fire with the Fragile Armor Directive, hitting like fire applying burn, but then removing chunks of your max armor. This is something new to think about, but it does feel more like a gimmick rather than a central mechanic like the promos would have had you believe. Where this DLC really shines is the missions and the new Brooklyn map. Bob has a handful of world missions: Bridge Park Pier, Clark Street, the Sierra Clinic, and Dumbo Skate Park. World missions are what Bob has instead of side missions, made to be more replayable, although they do feel a bit more fleshed out than the side missions you'll remember from around Washington DC. But I thought the main event here was the 3 new main missions: the H5 Refinery, the Art Museum, and the Army Terminal.
I'm not going to go into the story of these missions for those who haven't played them yet, but I will tell you that you can tell some thought has really gone into each of these missions,
with there being some more interesting mechanics to overcome, especially when it comes to the climactic boss fights.
And if you've enjoyed the video so far, do all of the various YouTube things below and leave an emoji or something in the comments. It really helps the channel out and it helps others find this video. With that, let's talk a bit about the map.
As I mentioned in the intro, you'll find most of the world missions around the new Brooklyn map, made up of Dumbo and Brooklyn Heights. As well as it being an entirely new map to explore, we also have a whole new season, moving from summer to autumn or fall. This litters the streets with brown and red leaves piling up and dancing in the wind. I know a lot of players were sort of disappointed by this. With us returning back to Brooklyn, they were hoping for some familiar snow. But personally, I think autumn is actually a pretty nice change, with it giving a noticeable shift to the overall feel of the game. Although, don't get me wrong, a bit of snow would have been nice. Despite Brooklyn being a smaller map than Washington or New York, it does feel dense and definitely worth exploring, with there being plenty of secrets and throwbacks to the first game for you to discover and stumble upon. Bob also gave us an improved and returning toy, Smart Cover. Smart Cover is back with a new and, in my opinion, improved way of working. In the Division 1, Smart Cover only applied to that single piece of cover you are currently using, giving you bonuses for being behind that cover. In the Division 2, Smart Cover works a little more like a sticky bomb. You aim it, fire it, and it creates a radius. Any cover within that radius gets those bonuses. The nice thing about this is because it applies to multiple pieces of cover, it also applies to multiple players. Meaning if you play it right, you can actually buff multiple players in your group. So let's wrap all of this up. Battle for Brooklyn is a solid addition to the Division 2 at a pretty reasonable price. Although the Purple Flame isn't really anything to write home about, the Brooklyn map is definitely a highlight, backed up by some missions that require slightly more thought than we've previously had to use. If you have enjoyed your time with the Division 2 so far, and you're considering picking up Bob or Battle for Brooklyn, you can't really go wrong. Or maybe you're considering picking up the Division 2 for the first time, and for you good people, I've linked a video in the description and the pinned comments that I think you might like. If you would like to support the channel, you can do that here by joining on YouTube and becoming a member for as little as £1 a month.
Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.